excited to host you here at our offices here in Glendale, taking in the beautiful view and hillside. Sorry, you guys, you picked the wrong side. You can still move if you want to. But we have a great panel of speakers to speak to you tonight on a variety of different topics. But first, I'm going to hand it off to our co-founder and president, Vahe.
Hello everyone, welcome to ServiceTitan. Today we're going to talk about some stuff about how we got started and what we do. So we're happy to have you guys here and happy to support Glendale Tech. So with that, I'll kick it off to Vach. Christina.
We go with the flow here. So we are very excited to talk to you about a few different things, but first want to make sure you guys know who these people are who are up here speaking to you. So we'll start with myself. I'm Christina Casey. I'm the Director of Employee Experience here at ServiceTitan. So I lead the HR team and our functions. And previously I worked at Westfield, the shopping mall company, but prior to that I worked at a startup in ad tech called Market Share that was based on the West Side. As an HR business partner. And a fun fact about me is I am super competitive. I know, not always what you would expect, but with 2 older brothers and like 30 first cousins and being the youngest of all of them, you really learn how to hold your own and you never like losing. So, in terms of what we're going to be talking about, in terms of how to take SaaS just to the next level, even beyond what SaaS means itself, Vach will walk you through our customer impact, Darren will walk you through product, and Rafi will walk you through our talent strategy to give you insight into how it all comes together. But first, we're going to give you a little bit of insight about ServiceTitan in case you don't know who we are, what we're about, and how we started.
To understand ServiceTitan, you have to understand Vahe and I and where we came from.
So when I was 6 years old, my dad decided that we had a better chance at a good life if we moved to the US and picked up the whole crew and just came over here. No job, no money, didn't speak the language at all.
So I came here when I was 1 year old, and my father is a residential contractor.
He worked a lot of odd jobs when I first got here, ended up working as a plumber.
Growing up, we would watch them head out at the crack of dawn and go out there in the biting cold and the scorching heat every day, break their backs, and put food on the table. At some point, when Vi and I grew up and graduated from USC and Stanford, our fathers asked us to find them some kind of software to help better manage their growing companies.
I started looking around, and when I saw that there really wasn't something worth recommending to my dad, I decided to build it myself. For the first 5-6 years, it was just me and Aura in a room programming away.
They started from my garage, actually.
ServiceTitan is meant to be a one-stop shop for our customers, and it's a platform that is meant to run from start to finish the entire operations of a home service business.
When a customer calls a company, the CSRs that are answering the phone call are able to pick up the phone and see all the customer's information right there on the screen in front of them. They're able to review all the previous times that that company has been out there to service the customer, all the notes.
Dispatchers get to see where everybody is on a map, so they get the closest guy to the closest job on time.
And that technician is able to provide a much more compelling service experience.
The technicians get to have iPads where they can take pictures, they can show product catalogs, they can go through options with the customer, do paperless invoicing. We've shown that there is a huge opportunity to improve business performance.
I can see how my marketing is doing, how my CSRs, the people that answer my phone are doing. You can get a report on your technicians, how they're pacing, their conversion rates, and that's really, really important. And the best thing about it, that it's like 2-3 clicks away. So the dashboard, I like to call it my investment portfolio. I invest so much time in my company. I invest so much money in marketing. So when I look at that, I say, okay, my time and my investment is paying off today. It has dramatically increased our revenue.
So on the ServiceTitan dispatch board, you have a ton of information and it's really easy to digest. The reports are awesome. You just put in the date range and it's there. If I see like a tech that did really well yesterday, I can go high-five him in the warehouse before his day starts. It's all automated, it's easy, it's amazing.
It was perfect for me.
He was the original customer that it was designed for, so it's very satisfying to see my dad actually using software, which I didn't think was possible.
When our customers are successful, we're successful.
So, with that, now I actually will hand it off to Vach, who will talk through our customer support and success team.
Thank you, and hello everybody. Thank you. My name is Vach Hovsepian. I head up customer success here at ServiceTitan. I've been here a little over 3 years. My journey is, I was at consulting, PwC Consulting, doing a bunch of boring stuff for banks and financial institutions. And then prior to that, I was at JP Morgan. Actually, this is my first startup. So personally, went through a very interesting journey and can very confidently and comfortably say it's been the highlight of my career, hands down thus far. So happy to talk to anybody who is thinking about transitioning into a startup and has reservations, because I did myself plenty. But again, from day one, it's been an amazing journey and haven't looked back since. So in terms of the time that I want to spend with you all today, for the next 10-15 minutes, I want to talk to you a little bit about how our team is structured, specifically our customer success organization, how it's structured, and how we think about our relationship with our customers, and how we position customer success as a differentiating factor for us as it relates to operating in a SaaS environment. So I'll start with the team and how we're organized. So if you think about ServiceTitan, and it's so interesting that video was shot, I think, about 2 years ago. Since then, we have added at least 6 very complex modules. And at this point, ServiceTitan is a full suite of, you can think of it as an ERP end-to-end operating software. So in terms of what it takes to actually get value out of ServiceTitan, it's actually quite a bit of work, both on the customer's end and our end. So we have organized our team around the customer journey, and to make sure that every step of the way, we have the right people involved with the right level of skill set that can set the customer up for success. So if you look at kind of the customer journey, what happens is when they sign up with us, the first thing they need to do is implement the software. So we have a team of what we call client onboarding. So in that team, you have project managers, essentially, folks who understand the software, understand the business, and also have a traditional software management experience to where they can work with the customer, make sure that they're staying on track, that they're completing their tasks, and also internally making sure that any sort of technical stuff that needs to be done for that project to be successful is also done on time. So that's our client onboarding team, and we segment the team based on the complexity of the implementation, and so we bucket our customers into various different cohorts. And then next we have our professional services team. So this is much more technical. So that team essentially supports the client onboarding team in that implementation process. In that team, we have data engineers, we have telecom experts, we have accounting integration specialists, and we have technical training experts as well. So if you're thinking about roles and where you may potentially fit, those two are essentially the beginning end of the journey, of the customer journey that those teams support. And then moving from there, we have technical support, which is essentially end user support. So if our customers don't know how to do something, or if they come across something they think is a bug, or the system is not functioning as intended, they can reach out to our customer support team. We have obviously tier 1, tier 2, and we also have specialists in that team. Our customers can reach us via a chat. I was about to say Slack, not yet, but they can reach out to us via chat from our software. They can call us and they can email us. Those are kind of the 3 channels via which they can reach us. Interesting thing about that team is we are kind of positioning that team as our internal incubator for talent. So that's kind of the entry-level role in our organization, the customer success organization. We typically look for 2 to 3 years out of college with some software experience. But most importantly, we're looking for people who are passionate, who have a high level of grit and determination. And then we develop them into various different roles that then feeds into some of the departments within customer success. Next team is our success management team. These are folks that partner with customers post-implementation to make sure that our customers are getting the most value out of our software. So these are the trusted advisors that work with our customers. Similar to our client onboarding team, that team is structured by cohort. A lot of fun. That team has a lot of fun. The leader of that team is here, John. He's standing right over there. If you want to talk to him, he can certainly give you some more context there.
The best team.
Yeah, hands down. And then last but not least, we have our small operations team that essentially is charged with building the operational platform for our for our CS organization to be successful. In that team, we have reporting responsibilities, process systems, and overall performance management. So this is, at one glance, this is kind of how our team is organized. So going forward, I gotta talk a little bit about our team culture. So we're certainly a work hard, play hard team. We interact with our customers, so the relationship aspect is very important. So what we look for in our people is tremendous passion about what we do, which I think is very core to our culture. And I always tell our new employees, if you're not passionate about what we do here, if you can't find that passion in you, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful here, because we set a very high bar for our employees. But then the flip side of it is you get tremendous opportunity for growth given our hyper-growth environment. And also you get to have a lot of fun. Because we've grown so fast, part of our culture has become kind of this notion of leaning on each other. And the team, particularly on the CS side and across the company, that's kind of become part of who we are. So when we have a new team member, the team kind of crawls together, make sure that that person gets to the point that they need to get as quickly as possible, because they all need that person to catch up, so we can, as a team, accomplish our goals. So this year, actually, we did our first, we called it customer success outing. We did one here and one in Atlanta, which is our largest presence outside of Glendale is in Atlanta on the CS side. So we rented a boat, had a lot of fun, and then in Atlanta went to a golf event, which I can't play golf, but it was a lot of fun. There was some drinking, so. So anyway, work hard, play hard is kind of how we like to think about ourselves. In terms of the customer journey, obviously there are a lot of steps that are required for us to get to success with our customers, but at a very high level, somebody purchases our software, they go through the onboarding process, as I explained, from a client onboarding perspective. This is typically where most of the heavy lifting is done, and where kind of the faith of that relationship is really rooted. Because if we do a really good job of transitioning our customers to our software, then the likelihood of them, one, seeing a lot of value from our software, and two, becoming an evangelist for us, where they're referring their friends, they're doing testimonials, etc., is much, much higher. We have a lot of data that shows if our customers go through implementation successfully, then their long-term success with us exponentially increases. And then the handoff to our success team. Success team is really focused on adoption, customer, and then focus on client outcomes. The adoption piece is actually really interesting. I want to spend a few more minutes after the slide to tell you guys a little bit about what we've done with partnering with product to make sure that we keep the focus on adoption, because we view that as a very important part of our relationship with our clients. And then finally, our goal is to get every customer to an evangelist to where they're constantly talking about us to their friends, to the associations that they're members of, etc. So if you look at our sales, overall our sales pipeline, and specifically in our industry, it's pretty much no one buys software without talking to someone that they know and they trust. So that piece is very, very, very important to us. In terms of Titan score, so this is adoption-wise. So this is about a year and a half ago, where I partnered up with a couple folks on our product side, and I said, okay, what can we do to make sure that our customers know how much of our software they're using? which if you think about it is counterintuitive to our kind of balance sheet, because the more of the software they use, the more expensive it is for us to service them. But that's not how we think about it, right? We think about it as the more of the software our customers use, the more successful they are, the more likely they are to become an evangelist. And I think this is something that differentiates us from both our competition and generally the SaaS market. So we came up with this concept that we're calling Titan Score. Essentially what it does, it gives the owner and anyone in the office really a full visibility to how much of our software they're using. And then you can break that up into seeing your usage in various different modules. So it doesn't just give you an overall score, but it also gives you a breakdown of how much of the software you're using in each module. So you can essentially pick which business process you want to dig into, and then you can see what percentage of the capabilities that the software offers you are actually adopting. And it's not just adoption in terms of, oh, it's turned on. It's adoption in terms of how consistently are you using that feature. Because in our industry, there are certain things that we can help our business owners, our clients monitor in terms of making sure that there's compliance. And so we've built all of that into the Titan Score. So this actually, we presented Titan Score at a Pulse, at this conference called Pulse, which is put together by Gainsight for customer success. And we won first place in terms of being the most innovative solution as it relates to partnering with product team to drive results for our customers. So we feel very, very proud of this. And it also gives you trends. So for example, if you're working on your Titan Score and you see a dip somewhere, that gives you an opportunity to dig in and see what's going on. Because oftentimes it could be that the consistency is not being there, and so that gives you an opportunity to go and dig in and do behavior changes as needed. So with that, I want to also just briefly talk about kind of what does this all mean, right? So we think, like I said, we think about customer success as not just a cost center, which is how a lot of companies approach it, but also as an engine that can fuel our customer acquisition team, so our marketing, our business development, our sales teams. And thus far, we've seen really great results in that. So overall, these are some of the most common metrics that SaaS companies measure as it relates to customer success. So in terms of our overall customer satisfaction score, we're at roughly about 94%. So this is around technical support happiness. In terms of NPS, so we actually measure NPS throughout the customer journey. So I talked a little bit about the importance of the onboarding process. So at the end of the onboarding process, we ask our customers how we're doing, not in just overall NPS, but also in every single area that we touch, such as phone porting, accounting, or data import, for example. And so our overall score there is roughly kind of hovers around mid-60s. Our customers, this big bubble here, this is the most, I think, interesting one, because our customers, on average, see roughly about 22% increase year over year when they use our product. And what we do, the way we come up with this number is we take similar companies in the industry and we compare performance of companies who are using ServiceTitan versus companies who are not. So this is actually a well-informed data point. The other thing that's really important and interesting is what we see a direct correlation between their adoption score and the increase in revenue that they're seeing. So roughly every 10 points in your adoption Titan score correlates with 5% increase, which really gives us a lot to stand on when we're talking about our customers in terms of the value that we're delivering, in that the more of our software they use, the more success they see, which is, in my opinion, really, really important, because it pretty much, with a data point, we can prove the value that we're delivering to our customers. And then our overall NPS score is around 40s, mid-40s. This is an area where we've gone up and down. We're certainly, our targets are much higher, but we've also taken on a lot of new customers this year, so it's kind of waved a little bit. But this is an area we're laser focused on. And then finally, this number here, churn, just a very common matrix in SaaS. So first off, our net revenue or net retention is actually positive. So year over year, our entire customer base actually grows. which is fascinating because, again, it goes back to the success that they're seeing with our product. And our overall annual churn is less than 3%. Just to give you guys a sense, kind of the industry average, SaaS industry average hovers around 10%, 15%. That's actually considered pretty good. So when it comes to churn, we're definitely best in class. And part of it is because we spend so much time and energy during the implementation, like I said, because every data point that we look at shows us there's a direct correlation there. So I think, yeah, and then in terms of our business model, I talked a little bit about this already, but we really believe in the partnership with our clients. And when it comes to customer success, we view that as an investment in our customer success and our own success, as opposed to viewing it as a cost center. So if you look at our headcount overall, we have consistently been roughly about 30 to 35% of overall headcount, which is a lot in the CS world. But again, the reason we're able to do that is one, our founders get it, and so we're very fortunate to have that support. But two, we're able to actually show the value that customer success can bring to the business as a whole, not just customer success, but to the business as a whole. So I think that's a wrap for me. I am going to be around after, and I think we're going to have a Q&A, so feel free to shoot any questions, and afterwards I'm more than happy to talk about my own personal journey as well as any questions you may have about any of the roles. So thank you so much.
All right, moving along. Thanks to you that sat in the front, all of you in the back. I can barely see you, you're so far away. There's like this invisible barrier. I'm Darren, I'm the VP of Engineering at ServiceTitan. I've been here about 5 months. So I'm kind of the new kid on the block, but I'm coming up to speed with all the processes and things that are happening here. And before that, I worked in video games for about 14 years. And you know, ServiceTitan is a special place if it got me to put the controller down and come work on software for plumbers and electricians and HVAC guys. It really is a great company, and I wouldn't have left for just anything, and this is a very special place. So, fun fact about me, at one point in time, I had about 12 pets. I use I loosely. It was not me. I have a family with 3 kids and a wife who is a huge animal lover, and every time I'd show up, I come home from work, there's another pet, and I'm like, what's going on? There's more pets here. I'm like, I don't know, there's more pets than humans in this place. So anyway, kind of hilarious. So tonight I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what we are doing from a product perspective and from an engineering perspective. I'm going to start a little bit with what I call the SaaS success model, and ultimately, we as a company leverage a lot of great technology that exists in the cloud, right? Amazon, Microsoft, provide great services. We leverage those to provide success to our customers. And really the key to a successful SaaS company is being able to understand cutting edge technology, and not only like just for technology's sake, but how it applies to customer value, right? And really focus on how we get to important outcomes for our customers. We're very focused on enabling success for the people that use our software. And as you can tell from the founder's story, super important, it's very resonant for RM Vahe, their parents are in the trades, right? We want to make products that make their lives easier and make them more successful. So we build upon a foundation of other great technologies that we leverage to really improve the work we provide for them and to make this a seamless experience. So some of the technologies that you enable us through cloud services to have rapid deployment, scalability, elasticity, we can really grow the business. Our customers don't care though, right? They just care that they get great products. So we abstract that away and provide an opportunity for them to have more of a user experience that is seamless and sort of takes away a lot of the pain. We don't have to show them the fact that we're running servers in the cloud and all the details. We provide them a great service because what they really care about is getting to the fit for their business and getting to results, right? Results matter. And so for us, it's really about having a vision on the long-term game and understanding what it is that they need to do for their customers, right? And so we'll walk through a little bit of that tonight. So ultimately, when you're looking at how ServiceTitan exceeds customer expectations. We provide a ton of features. The product has become very rich in the feature layer, and it serves a lot of needs across the board. But features don't tell the whole story, right? Features are just a way to enable value. It's a vehicle to deliver value for your customers. What really matters is outcomes, right? So we're looking at outcomes over output. Features are output. Outcomes are value that we add to businesses. The level that we can take them to so that they realize new profits, new customers, they have better marketing campaigns. We can provide a lot of those services. And so when we're thinking about leveraging technology, we're looking at AI and machine learning and data, big data, and basically looking at how we can capitalize on those technologies to provide really great, exceptional experiences for our customers, but also allow them to be more successful in their business, because that's what really matters. And as Vach mentioned with the Titan score, super important for them to leverage all the things we have in our product so they can really increase their success as a business. So we're going to walk through a little bit today some particular customer personas, because personas are a really good way to align your product and engineering group on the best way to get the outcomes versus just outputs. So you want to understand who you're building the product for. So we've picked a couple tonight to go through. We're going to talk about business owners, we're going to talk about a dispatcher and a field technician, the guy that, or girl that comes to your house to solve your problem. I just experienced this recently, I'll get into that in a minute. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to talk about mobile first. So we have field techs, right, and they have a product they run on an iPad or mobile device. They can see lots of content and features that you would normally have access to in your home office or sitting at your computer. We basically make all that available to them so that they can actually have a very rich experience. So this field tech may not know much about you, but they can get your history, they can get information on what your problem is. They can show you what you can purchase and give you pricing, and then all of that stuff basically allows them to set you up for purchasing and delivering value. They do all of that with technology that also runs in offline mode. So we know field techs have a hard time if it's like bad cell service or whatever and they're connected to the cloud. We actually enable them to be able to run in offline mode as well. So some pretty complicated technology happening on the device just to make sure that we provide that seamless service for all of the field techs that are out there, because their job is hard. They're sweating out in the heat dealing with like broken air conditioners, which mine broke down this summer, and the guy did not have ServiceTitan software, and I was like, you should get it, because he was dealing with pen and paper and he was on the phone with his guy trying to work out a deal, and I was like, he's like sweating, standing under a tree in the shade, and I'm like, man, you gotta move to the next generation. It's like really sad. But anyway, so we provide these services because we want our field techs and our customers' field techs to look good, right? We want them to have a great experience and be able to be successful in what they do. So I think there's a little video that talks a little bit about the mobile.
Give ServiceTitan a couple days, and I guarantee you're gonna love it. I open up ServiceTitan, it pops up my job. It gives me a brief description. It also gives me a map location of their house. Take a little time and look at the history. Have we been there before? Were any estimates given? The inspection form is fantastic. It helps us go through all the proper steps, just kind of clicking it off as you go through it on ServiceTitan. And I build my estimates. Go to the category you're looking for, touch the screen again, and pick what you want. Everything just flows so much easier with the customer. I can take pictures and add it to ServiceTitan, which is very handy. After I've completed my work, then I go to the payment part. The customer's winning because I'm not wasting time in their house. I'm winning because I'm being more efficient. It's all because of ServiceTitan.
So you can see from that video, we really have the best interests of our customers at heart, right? We want to provide software that gets out of their way and allows them to look good, right? And just makes them the professional and really puts the polish on their business. So we unlock that and enable that for our customers. The next persona we want to talk about is a dispatch person. So this person has the somewhat difficult task of trying to schedule lots of field techs and moving calendars and stuff that goes wrong during the day, and this is like a really kind of a tedious task. I mean, I have a hard time scheduling my calendar, and I don't really have to deal with multiple people, it's just me. They deal with like a large amount of like moving parts and trying to get techs to jobs, and things run long. So we've been looking at how do we make this experience better. We're looking at how do we leverage AI for that, right? And so we're basically looking at like machine learning to train our system on trends and look at how we can actually use location data and really provide information on what tech has the best skills and map that to the best jobs and get them there on time. And we've been able to create some cool software that's in alpha right now that we're actually running that actually does the dispatch job for the dispatchers, right? And they can propose and allow them to accept or actually just dispatch people on behalf of them. So it actually cuts down on a lot of the pain. So super cool tech. We'll show a little quick dispatch video for you. Oops, sorry, I skipped that one. There we go.
Using ServiceTitan has actually made people think that we were psychic. And when a customer calls in, that gray bubble pops up. I already know their name, I know where they live, I know their past history. Whole calendar is there. I can just click whatever date they want, the time. I can assign a technician. As a dispatcher, you can work the most efficiently possible. So you just click on a call, it's as simple as moving your mouse up, and you can drop it onto the technician's photo or the time limit on the board. Let's call on them. We had a lot of redundant phone calls or emails for something that's a quick exchange. Through ServiceTitan, I can text that technician that's on his way and say, hey, this person's going to be late. Or actually, it was that they've sold something in real time, so the software is automatically keeping us in the loop. Why would anybody ever go back to old software when they have ServiceTitan? It's a no-brainer.
Cool. So last part is business owners, right? So they have to make sure that their business is profitable, that it's their techs are doing a great job, and we have tremendous amounts of data we can provide to them. So we're starting to look into like how do we capitalize on this and really give insights to our business owners so they can optimize for better success. So we provide the dashboard, which is actually a cool look at kind of snapshot of where their business is going. And we're looking at like how do we actually like leverage the data we have on where techs are located to provide potentially like marketing campaigns and really cool cutting edge stuff. So we're actually abstracting away a lot of the technology stuff, but to the customers are just like, wow, this stuff just happens and it's very cool and allows us to be successful. So moral of the story is, you know, we want to focus primarily on customer value, right? And we want to make sure that our software gets out of the way for them to be successful, right? It just allows them to look good, to run a great business. And so we hide the tech behind our scenes, you know, and we do that for them. We do the hard work for them so that they can be really polished and brilliant. Also, our culture here is really about innovation, improving what we do. We have a model of continuous improvement in our engineering organization, and we really focus on trying to like always learn, grow, develop more. We're like compulsive like about this like feedback loop of how do we continue to make things better, not only in our product but in ourselves. And it's really resonant. You know, it's made the product sticky. Our customers really love it, as you can tell from these videos. So it's been really fun working here. I didn't have a cool slide like Vach, I don't know where he went, about all the fun stuff we do, but I guarantee you our engineering team still has lots of fun and they do lots of cool stuff. They're just camera shy, so we don't have any pictures of them, unfortunately. There's like one picture of Chris in the back playing ping pong that I put on the blog, so now he's internet famous. So yeah, but we have the same cultural values, right? We really enjoy camaraderie, teamwork, collaboration. We want to solve hard problems together. We really enjoy working together, and Glendale's a cool place to do it. So anyway, with that, I'm going to hand it off to Rafi to talk a little bit about talent, and we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Darren. Hi, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today here at our beautiful offices. My name is Rafi Kirchen, and I initially joined ServiceTitan back in early 2015. Prior to ServiceTitan, I was working at Symantec, who's the security company out in Culver City, and before that I was across the freeway here at Yellow Pages, leading their talent acquisition teams. Fun fact about me, one of the nicknames that they ended up giving me here was Godfather, just because if you guys are privy to the movie, the Godfather always makes an offer that you can't refuse. And typically I'll step in when we have some challenges in being able to recruit the right talent. So just a quick overview of some of the timeline and some of the growth the ServiceTitan has experienced over the past few years. When I joined the organization back in March 2015, we were about 30 employees, and we ended up that year close to about 65. We've grown across the entire organization, many different departments, sales, watches organization, marketing, finance, HR, everybody across the board has really experienced tremendous growth. And year over year, all the way up to today, we have pretty much doubled headcount. So 2016, we ended that year about 140 employees. And then 2017, we ended around 310. This year, we started the year obviously at 310. We are currently at 510 employees. We are forecasted to end the year approximately around 600 employees. And right now, as you guys are aware, I'm sure a lot of you guys have gone to our career site, we have about 70 active openings that we're looking to hire for. And after this presentation, you guys are more than welcome to discuss a lot of the roles. My entire recruiting team is here in the back. And please feel free to come and talk to me about any opportunities that you'd like to be considered for. We would love to have an engaging conversation with all of you guys. Some of the challenges that we faced currently and over the past few years is, we find ourselves now in a very competitive market. Unemployment rate has been the lowest it's ever been. There's many companies that are experiencing a lot of success and growth. And we are competing against the Amazons, eBays, Facebook, Googles of the world for engineering talent, for finance talent, marketing, everything. So there's a big war right now going on for talent. And we want to make sure that ServiceTitan is positioned to be one of the leaders and one of the best places to work, especially in Southern California. So the market is, has proven to be a little challenging, but we have so many great things to offer people that typically we're able to really retain and attract the best talent out there. We also like to focus on really hiring people that have industry background. We are focusing on home services. So a lot of times people who have worked in that home industry space have really in-depth knowledge about how that business is run. And that kind of experience has proven to be very valuable for us to be able to kind of bring in-house and be able to develop additional processes, procedures, and just different business operations that really help our customers achieve success. So being able to attract industry hires has also been a little challenging, but certainly something that we are continuing to focus on. And quality of talent, right? Every company wants to hire the best out there. We want to make sure that we continue to focus on hiring the best, making sure that our talent are not only a fit within some of the different requirements, but also being able to work well with the team and are a match with the culture that we have defined here at ServiceTitan. And with that, obviously, goes the technical expertise that each role kind of represents. In addition to being, ambitious and smart and really having the right attitude towards opportunity, we also want to make sure that you're a match for some of the requirements that we have. And that's something that we take very seriously. Obviously, we want to make sure that the people that we're hiring are a mutually beneficial fit for both of us, both parties, and are able to be set up for success. So some of the things that over the many years that we've done to continue to help us, retain talent, hire people, retain them, engage them, develop them. When I first started, ServiceTitan was only 30 people, and the only benefit we really had was our healthcare package for the employee only. So ever since then, over the many years, we have developed a really robust employment benefit package, which includes benefits such as healthcare, dental, vision, life insurance, 401k, flexible PTO. We don't have a cap on how many days you could take off. We just kind of trust the employees to take the time that they need. to kind of unwind and then come back to work kind of charged up. We have many company events, a lot of fun events. We have an annual picnic. As Vach and Darren mentioned, we have many different happy hours and fun events that we want to continue to promote and kind of build that camaraderie between the different team members. Equity, right? Every employee that comes to work at ServiceTitan is a share owner, is the owner of the company. So that's really, really important to us. And there's tremendous value behind that. Every employee feels like they're entitled to be here and be part of the success that the organization is delivering. And whatever success we achieve as a team, as a company, they're going to be able to reap some of the benefits. It's really important for us to continue to grant equity to every single individual that's joined the company. That way we are all engaged together for the same common goal. LinkedIn Learning, we recently signed up with LinkedIn to help provide our employees with great learning opportunities. We take learning and development very seriously. From the day that I joined, RI and Vahe made it very clear to me that they wanted to continue to not only hire the best, but also make sure that we're engaging them, we're developing them, we're retaining them. And today we find ourselves within our HR team, we have a learning and development group that consists of 4 individuals. For a company of about 500, that's quite a bit. And these guys' job is really continuously making sure that we are developing our employees, having different programs, different trainings to help them making sure that they're set up for success. And not only here, but whenever they decide to leave ServiceTitan, that we help them kind of make sure that they are going to be successful in other areas and other companies that they decide to join. We have free lunch. Everybody loves that. It's catered. We have this company called eClub, very fun kind of environment where you go online, you can order whatever lunch you want, and every day it's delivered in the back. You go and pick up your lunch, eat it, and to be honest with you, at the end of the day, it really adds up financially and saves people quite a bit of money, and it's a big perk that a lot of people really enjoy. We also have obviously a lot of snacks and foods and people, and sometimes alcohol. Wellness program. We have a partnership with Equinox. We have a weekly yoga class. We have a bunch of different massage specialists. We have a bunch of different other types of vendors that come in here and help us kind of take that edge off our employees, and that's been very well received as well. And then impact, right? This is a benefit that's not necessarily kind of on paper, but it's something that really resonates with a lot of our employees, where everybody that we hire here at ServiceTitan is going to make an impact on the business. It really doesn't matter what your role is. It doesn't matter what department you work in. Every single person that gets hired to ServiceTitan, just as that was true 4 years ago, is still true today. It makes a tremendous impact in the success of our customer, in the success of the other employees, and also the overall success of the company. So we take a lot of pride in that, and that's one of the areas that we really try to focus on when we are doing our interview process, our hiring process, to make sure that people really are going to be able to come in here and contribute to the organization's growth. So some of our core values, these are things that we really take to heart, and these are actually the same core values that we had when I first joined 4 years ago, and we were very small, and we continue to really live and breathe through these core values. One of them, most important one I think, is changing lives. And what does that really mean, changing lives? So for us, the way we look at that is, I look at it in 3 different ways, right? One of them is being able to change the lives of our customers. By being able to help our customers be more efficient, run their business better, that gives them opportunity to spend more time with their family, be able to kind of enjoy life more, and not worry so much about how to run their business, but focus on the core thing that they know how to do, which is being able to go to somebody's house and be able to service and provide that kind of service that they're being paid for, whether that be electrical, HVAC, plumbing, whatever that may be. So we want to make sure our software is helping our customers' lives and improving that. Second, I would say that also means making sure that our employees are being set up for success, changing their lives for the better, making sure that they, when they decide to join ServiceTitan to the day that they leave, they are better individuals, they're better prepared to face the different challenges of the world, but also being able to help them be successful wherever they decide to go. So that's really an important key for us too, being able to retain and develop our employees. And lastly, as far as changing lives is concerned, is we really want to make sure that we are very involved in philanthropy and charity events. We are very close partners with the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. We take part in many different marches, Alzheimer's March, many other nonprofit organizations. And this is directly from RI and Vahe. As we continue to grow, we're going to continue to focus on doing better things and help improve the world around us as much as we can contribute to that. Achieving the extraordinary, obviously this is another one of our big core values. We have t-shirts that were made that said achieve the extraordinary. Many team members here are wearing those t-shirts with pride. We do take a lot of pride in this core value. And what that means is really going above and beyond, right? Making sure that you have really aggressive but achievable goals, not settling for mediocrity, but really going for the win, making sure that you are set up for success as well, and really doing things that are really outside the normal things that are expected from an employee and going above and beyond. What we call that is really shooting for the stars. We want people to come in here and be super ambitious, as Vaj said, passionate, and really help contribute to the overall success that we all want to see ServiceTitan achieve. And being a great team, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Being able to work with other team members, collaborate, being humble, really making sure that not only are you set up for success, but you're helping your other teammates through challenges, objectives, and just being there as an amazing team player. Quick video here regarding some of our employees and our
Why ServiceTitan?
Why ServiceTitan?
There are hundreds of thousands of contractors out there who are completely underserved by technology.
I wanted to make myself useful to my dad, who was a plumber.
How many founders can say, I take a phone call from my father with a question about the software?
Vahe was like, I need to do something to help my dad. And he did.
When I understood exactly what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it, I wanted to be a part of the team.
10, employee number 10.
59?
16.
31. 17.
I'm number 81.
150.
Either 1 or 3, depending on whether you count Ara and Vahe. 0.
The team that we have here, they're young, they're bright, they're intelligent.
My mom kept telling me, you're not gonna get a job with teal hair. So thanks, Ara, for still hiring me, even though I had teal hair.
If the horsepower is there, and they're a little bit humble, we have a winner.
Ara promised me a Bentley. I promised him 100% market share.
He asked me, what do you want to make sure that we at ServiceTitan never forget? And I was like, well, you never want to forget the roots of where you came from.
He said something that really stuck with me. He said, as long as our customers are doing okay, I'm doing okay.
Customer success is everything.
Literally, our customer success is everything, and if we help our customers succeed, we help ourselves succeed.
It makes it super easy to sell when you really believe in the product and when I really feel like it can change their life.
We make pretty bold promises that we're going to increase efficiency, or we're going to help your technicians earn more money. We're going to make your lives easier.
I could change somebody's lives with this product. I don't need to hide anything about it.
Having an impact on people's lives is something I didn't even know that I was looking for in a job. And to me, that's amazing.
There's nobody that I work with that sits back and says, I'm done, it's good enough.
On a monthly basis, we're launching 50, 60 new features. We aren't really resting on our laurels.
It's just something about his culture, something about his people, something about his place.
We have a team that cares about each other on a personal level.
ServiceTitan is a family.
I've built so many great, lasting, personal and professional relationships.
I mean, we hang out outside of work all the time,
I've never felt as connected to my coworkers.
Why ServiceTitan?
Why ServiceTitan?
Because everything that we say it is, it's true.
Because we do it better than anybody else.
I'll tell you really why ServiceTitan. We live and breathe and eat this stuff.
They appreciate the time and effort that we're putting in to really do something extraordinary.
How many customers are there in the country? That's how big we can get.
There are 100 million homes out there. I mean, the bounds are limitless.
I think we're already outgrowing our office right now.
We're gonna need this whole building. Hopefully we'll take over the whole world.
This is really just the beginning.
When we change hundreds of thousands of contractors' lives, that's how big we can get. I want ServiceTitan to be a platform for people to achieve their full potential, whether it's our customers or our team members who use it as a platform for changing people's lives, achieving the most extraordinary outcomes. I want this to be the best experience for everybody that touches ServiceTitan.
Okay, so a couple of quick things that really kind of stem from our core values that help us develop this culture that we take a lot of pride in. I would say the most important thing, there's many different buckets under here, but I think the most important thing that I've really felt myself coming from Aura is humility, right? We are a very humble team. We don't like to show off. We take a lot of pride in our work, but we continue to grind it out and be humble. You know, we have a culture of inclusivity, transparency. We have all hands meetings on a consistent basis. We like all of our reporting is shared with the entire workforce. Everybody is aware of how the company is doing, the health of the business, and we continue to have that transparency. Very important to us to share everything that's happening with our workforce. Ownership, as I mentioned earlier, every single employee here is an owner of the organization and takes a lot of pride in that. Empowerment, you know, every individual in the organization, if they have an idea, that idea is heard. It could go all the way up to Aura and Vahe, and many times there's been employees that had ideas that we felt like they were very strong, and we executed on them, and they ended up being tremendous successes. Passion, respect, tenaciousness, and obviously, like I said, inclusivity. We want to make sure that everybody here that joins ServiceTitan feels like a family, feels like they're welcome, and they feel like they're going to be set up for success and help ServiceTitan be extraordinary. That's all I have for now. Appreciate all you guys joining us. Like I said, my recruiting team is in the back. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rafi. So we are going to bring all of our panelists back up for Q&A. So the lovely Sam will probably, I just volunteered her to run around with the microphone so you wouldn't have to come all the way up here. But start thinking about your questions while I herd the cats. So Rafi, yep, that's you. Darren, take a seat. Where'd Vahe go? I feel like that's the question I always ask. Where did Vahe go? He'll be back. But we can start with questions here. Anything you covered?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Vernez. Before I proceed, I just want to say what you guys built is pretty impressive. As someone who's lived in Glendale and went to Clark, I saw the Mr. Blattner pictures. I came with my friends today. We have mixed backgrounds from working at Snapchat to Meredith, and our hobbies essentially just grew into businesses. And I noticed in 2015, this is directed for more Vacha and Aura. In 2015, you guys had 65 employees. You guys started working from the garage. At what point did you stop developing on the product and focus more on sales and marketing? What was it that really catapulted your product?
So I guess I'll take that one. So the answer is never. Like, you never stop from one to the other. If you have to, something is wrong. You should always be selling, and you should always be building. Even if the thing isn't done yet, you should be selling. So, like, it's that's the assumption I would have going into it. In terms of the turning point, product market fit is not just a theory. Like, when you hit it, you will feel it. And it will be a switch from push to, okay, something is pulling me now. And so getting to that point is the hard part. And a lot of times it's not like a binary answer. You kind of see a little bit of a signal, and then the key is having a good nose for where it's really coming from. And usually it's an exercise of saying no more so than saying yes to things. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, thank you. Thank you.
You can ask more questions. Any other questions? I'll come to you. I'll come to you. I'll come back to you.
This one's for Vaj. So I have a startup and we're like trying to sell our product, but when would be a good time to like establish a customer success team? Like early on, or like maybe later when we have a more developed like sales cycle and product? When is it important to like start a
Yeah, that's a great question. I've heard it a few times. I think, when did we hire Matt? Like probably after how many customers?
Like 3 customers.
3 customers, yeah. So I think one of the things we got really right at ServiceTitan was invest in CS early on. That's because we don't, like I said earlier in my presentation, we don't think of CS as just a customer service, right? We think of CS as the organization that's going to fuel the growth. And so if you look at it from that lens, then when do you invest in a salesperson, right? I think that's when you invest in a CS person as well. And yeah, in terms of exactly when, I think it depends on what market you're serving. But I would say as soon as you get enough traction where you're like, okay, there's a product market fit opportunity here, I think you got to think about it, because that will then, if you do it right, it will then it'll do a full circle, and so it'll help with your growth. Because and Vai can certainly add more context here, but if you look at the history of ServiceTitan, I think one of the main contributors to the success of the company was from the beginning that focus on customer success. And it's not surprising, because Vai and Ara started building this company for building the software for their parents, right? So obviously they cared about what that experience is going to look like. So I think kind of naturally it happened for us. But I would make a very deliberate decision to make an early investment in CS. Yeah. There you go.
A lot of these questions are going to come down to a resource allocation question, right? At what point do you invest what amount into what? And the reality is, you as a founder will be doing most of the functions from the beginning, and then it's now an exercise in thinking about, okay, what am I spending my time on that I could get somebody else to do for me to then do higher value things? The first question is, do you care about customer success? Just forget the department. Is that important to the business? If it is, then the question is, when can you do it, and what's the opportunity cost for not doing it? So for us, like, Ara and I were doing the sales and the product and everything else, and our first hire was basically our customer success team. But that's because we figured out that our time would add more value to the business, focusing on building the product even more or getting more customers. But we waited until we had a few customers to actually have enough of a demand to then bring that in. But a lot of this comes down to how much capital you have. If you are well funded, then you don't have to make a lot of these trade-offs, right? That's why you raise money. So a lot of it is very contextual to where you are on that journey. But ultimately, just figure out what that end result is, and then just map into it with whatever state you're in. And most of the time, it's going to be you and the other founders until you can economically justify the investment.
Nick, do you have a question?
So my question is for Darren. You've been here a few months and moving into a new environment. You're coming from the Riot Games, I think, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So it's a big change of the environment, but also at the level you're coming in. It's exciting, but also very challenging. So as you came in and you started to take a look at the platform and the whole environment, how did you go about trying to identify the challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, so the first thing you do...
that was very easy.
Yeah.
That was not the hard part. The finding challenges was fairly straightforward.
Thank you for saying that. I value my job. Yeah, so there's a point in time when every small company becomes a big company, and we're in that point, right? It's this inflection point of everything's like you hit that day where you're like, we're selling, we're getting customers, everything's cool, we're building features, and then you're like, oh my god, this thing is starting to take off without us, and how do we hang on to this rocket ride, right? And this is a great time to be in a company. It's also super fun for people that love organizing crazy process and figuring out complex problems, which I love to solve. It was just right for what I enjoy. And when I went to Riot Games, it was the same kind of phase, right? We were doing that rapid growth. And so problems are everywhere. Every company has them. It's the problems of scale that are compelling and energizing that I love solving. And like, we have plenty of those, right? So what I did first was just observe, right? The kind of the playbook for anyone that's starting a new job is like, first do no harm, right? Go in, see what's going on. Don't make changes that you don't know what you're talking about, right? First, see how the business runs, where are the bright spots, where are the things that are really, valuable that the company's, like the core DNA, right? The things that we really have to have to be successful. And don't change that. Look for the things that you can slowly kind of transition into better ways of working, right? Because you also don't want, I had a manager one time call it organ donor rejection, right? Where it's like you go in and you change too much stuff and the whole system like kicks you out, right? So you have to figure out how to actually like get the system ready for change, right? Which is very difficult. People get accustomed to doing things a certain way and their success criteria and their reward mechanisms are all geared to this one system, and then you change the system and they're like, I don't know how to succeed, right? I don't know what to do next. So what I did was observe. Then I started looking at, okay, what are the things that will unite us in this effort to get to the next level? And then what are the missing pieces, right? So for us, really focusing on the customer and outcomes, and Vahe talked about this recently. We just had a product all hands last week before. There's also a time dilation effect with startups, so you forget how long it's been. Everything seems like crazy sped up, and also slowed down, so you're confused all the time. But anyway, really focusing the product team and the engineers on what matters, and then prioritizing and selecting the things that are going to get you to the next level. And then identifying the gaps in the organization that you have and really focusing on recruiting the right people to get you to the next level. The people that got you here sometimes aren't the people that are going to get you to the next level. You have to be smart about how you hire. You need to hire people that have had experience scaling businesses and really capitalize on their experiences, because you find that you learn a lot when you go through those growing pains of an organization of what to do and what not to do. Every organization is unique though, so everybody that's here has an opportunity to learn and grow and figure out how to add value in the new inflection point, right? So it's a long-winded answer, but basically like observe, pick your battles, start to make incremental change, get everybody aligned and on the mindset of like where you want to go and set the North Star for them so they have a vision and things to latch onto, and then build a great team to accomplish success. So kind of in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Araceli Ferreira, and we have a startup as well. So thank you for sharing all of this information. What I want to know too is you brought an innovative product to technicians who do everything manually and specialize in certain areas, and maybe are not business owners. So how did you go to their homes and sit down and do a presentation? Did you do a training? How length was the training before they, automated and became your clients?
Yeah, so I would say so we did a couple of things right, and I'll say the first thing that we did was we drew a box around who we identified as our ideal customer. And we lived within that box, and the qualities of the box is like a Goldilocks zone. You don't want it to be too big because then the needs of the users are too different from one another.
Okay.
And if you make it too small, then it doesn't really matter. So you got to get it just right. And then if you do that, ideally what you end up with is with a meaningfully sized number of customers that have very similar needs.
Okay.
And what that allows you to do is have a scalable product where you can, for every line of code you write, you have a higher rate of relevancy, right? It's a ROI at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do that correctly, then it just becomes an exercise in understanding how that particular market works. So like for us, we targeted key influencers that we knew the rest of the people in the box looked up to. And we made kind of champions out of them. So our goal was to find a small number of people that if we can deliver success to them, then that just by itself would then refer a bunch of people. Right? It's fairly old-fashioned way of going about it, the word-of-mouth strategy. And then you parlay the success into bigger and bigger opportunities. So you go from a few people to then organizations, and depending on the market, you may advertise directly and so on. And so I would say that actually the hardest part is drawing the box around who that ideal customer is. And then once you do that well, the rest of it is fairly straightforward, because you can just look at the market and you can see, okay, so how do the people within this space make their buying decisions, right? At what point will someone be making a decision on whether or not to buy whatever it is that you guys are selling? And sometimes it's an existing demand that you can just tap into. Sometimes you have to generate the demand because they don't even know that they need what you're giving them. And so it's balancing all of these things. So it's a very vague answer. I don't know if I'm answering the question, but it really comes down to having that right constraints. And if you do that well, everything else just kind of starts to line up.
Thank you.
Should have stayed over here.
Statistically, most of the startups fail due to inability to scale. So what are and clearly you're nailing it. What are the key factors or learnings you can share with us for the success?
I would actually question the premise. I would say most startups fail because they can't get the product market fit. If you get the product market fit, the scaling part is a luxury. Like, to have a scaling problem, it's a great problem to have. And if you can go to people that invest in this space and say, hey, I've found product market fit, I'm having a scaling problem, they'll just throw money at you. Like, that's basically how it works. So the key is to get to that point. And then once you get there, like, you can just throw money at the problem. In terms of how you scale, it's just a fairly straightforward, okay, where is the bottleneck in the machine? And then you go solve that one, and then immediately something else pops up. And it's just an exercise in prioritization and attacking the right problem with the right scope. So I would say solving the scaling problem is actually the easy part. It's finding the product market fit that's the hard part. And if I think about all the startups that fail, it's because they never get to that point. And whether that's because they lock themselves in an office and live in their own world and never reach out to how people actually operate, or whatever the other sources of drivers are, that to me would be the much bigger risk than the scale piece. You could throw money at scale. You can't throw money at product market fit.
Hi, my name is Nadine. I have two questions. I hope the first one's quick. I'm just curious what your sales model is. So for your customers, are they paying an upfront fee, or are they paying a monthly recurring fee? Is it based on number of users, etc.?
Sure, I can answer that real quick. So it's a monthly recurring per license. So we've actually changed our model. We have now customers who are kind of in a, what we call legacy pricing strategy, which just where we had a different price for an office login and a different price for a technician login. So it got a little bit confusing. So right now we have one license fee for technicians. So the office licenses we don't charge for, but we're still thinking through and potentially making some changes. In terms of do we charge upfront and how much we charge, we want to optimize for the recurring revenue. So oftentimes, typically we do charge, but it's only to get commitment from the customer to understand that, hey, I'm making an investment here, as opposed to trying to use that to cover our costs, let's say, because we're optimizing for ARPU, which is essentially average how much we're getting from our customers on a recurring revenue basis. But without charging up front, oftentimes people will just not treat it as seriously, right? So we've tested various different models. Right now we're actually introducing contracts for the first time And we are kind of playing around with the idea of not charging anything up front, but collecting 2 months of fees, just so we can get, again, some sort of skin in the game.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one more question. I'm curious to know if you guys are thinking at all about expanding outside of the service industries that you're focused on now, so HVAC, plumbing, etc. It sounds like this is a platform that can be used in a lot of industries, so I'm just wondering if you guys are thinking of going outside of that.
So what's interesting is, if you think about that box that we just talked about, right? That's the box, right? For us, that box is, we only sell to people that provide services in the home, which comes down to like 1 million businesses. And then from there we say, okay, only plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and garage doors. And then it gets a little smaller. And then with there, only service, not new construction, and it gets a little smaller. But only residentially focused customers, not commercial, and it gets a little smaller. And then we say, okay, you'll have to have 4 trucks in the field or more. And it gets like super, super small. And that's where we live today. Like everything you see here is focused on that little tiny box, which, to give you a sense of numbers, it goes from 1 million to like 30,000. So that's the pool that we're swimming in till today. So we still don't feel like we're ready to venture out, because why should we, right? There's enough runway within this little tiny box for us to still continue to scale. But that's a very, let's say, top of mind topic for us. And we've got a lot of various initiatives in play. But for people that are just starting out, I think that's one of the things that we probably did differently than what a lot of startups do, is they focus on some big giant target that they're going to go after, and they think, oh, if I just get 1% of this one giant big thing, then we're there. That usually doesn't work. That's, I believe, one of the keys to our success actually is we've been very conservative with that. We're probably too conservative right now. We should probably open it up. But yeah, we're still figuring that out.
Christina.
So there's a question for Rafi, but anybody that can help answer it, please go ahead. So doubling in headcount every year has its own sorts of good problem strains. How much of a focus is there on employee onboarding and success as much as there is on customer onboarding and success?
It's a good question. So one of the first things that we did after I joined was we were able to develop a really comprehensive and robust new hire onboarding experience. And it used to be, when I first joined, it was a 12-hour session. And now we find ourselves with an almost 5-day new hire onboarding experience, which covers everything from where to get coffee from and what are some of the strategies of the company that we're pursuing, to the software, to our customers, and literally being able to kind of make sure that the employee, after that first week of orientation, is really ready to hit the road running and be able to really focus on their core job and having a really good understanding on everything that involves ServiceTitan. So that's step one. Also, we make sure that during our interview process, really screen people for making sure that they're the right fit, they have the right hunger, the right passion, and the right values that are really kind of align with what ServiceTitan is looking for. And also, another thing that we really have taken a lot of interest and something that we really are passionate about is our candidate experience. When people come into ServiceTitan and interview with us, we want to treat them with the highest level of respect. We want to make sure that they really feel valued. They want to make sure that we treat them the way that we want to be treated when we go on interviews. So we have a specific scorecard and a survey that we do every time somebody comes here to interview to make sure that we're really able to measure how we're doing and if there's areas for us to be able to improve. And that way, if we end up hiring that individual, we really get a really good understanding of what they're looking for and how they're going to be able to fit in within the team.
See, Rafi was spoiled. When he came in, we had a program. Probably, what number were you? 35. 35. Okay. So if you had been like 27, you know what the onboarding experience would have been like? No, laptop, please. Here's your IKEA box, build your desk, and then good luck. Like that was literally it. up until like the 30s. And then I think you were one of the first people who were like, we should do an onboarding experience. This sucks. Like, who wants to walk into that? So there's problems you want to solve at various stages, and we probably waited too long to solve that particular problem. But when you're like just getting started, there's more existential problems to get ahead of, right? And so there's a lot of things that comes down to timing, where you spend kind of your focus. And so not to say that this is not important, and again, it's super important now because it actually frames the whole relationship with the employee from the moment they get on. But like, this is not what it was when we were starting out. It was very, very ghetto, like super ghetto.
We have time for a couple more questions, if there are any. Oh, everyone up front.
I'll come back to you for My name is Alina. I have a quick question. It's addition to the question about sales. As I've done some research on your company, so I understand that you're acquiring more enterprise customers. So in terms of recurring revenue, do you have a different strategy for, do you do more customization, or do you treat smaller business the same as an enterprise in terms of the product? And the second question is, are you planning to go international with the little focus that you guys have? And if you have any thoughts, which first 3 countries would be?
I'll talk about the first question. I'll touch on the second if I can fill in. In terms of, if I understood your question correctly, was do we have different products that we sell in different segments? So the short answer is no. We sell the same product. In terms of, obviously, the configuration, the setup of it varies depending on the complexity of the implementation. And then for some enterprise customers, we do some customization. Fortunately, we've been investing a lot into the core product in the last, let's say, 12 to 18 months. So we are at a point where we don't really have any kind of glaring gaps when it comes to servicing our enterprise customers. So it really comes down to the goal is to just sell out a box and not make it customized. But realistically, especially when you go after very large customers, there are some customizations that we do. In terms of international, so we're currently in Canada. We have a couple of customers in the UK, I think. And while we're not actively pursuing an international strategy, it certainly is kind of in the vicinity of things that we're thinking about in terms of opportunities for advancement. There's actually one customer from Australia that is just super persistent for like 2 years in a row. They just keep coming back, and they're just like, we'll fly our entire team. You guys can train them there. We just want the product. But we've been kind of holding back. To Vaz's earlier point, that box that also involves kind of geographic. But in terms of in the future, I think Australia is definitely in the mix because if you look at product market fit and the way the country, the housing overall is structured in Australia, there's a lot of similarities. But I would imagine that's more of a kind of down the road opportunity for us because there's so much more that we can focus on in the current area that we play in. That international probably more of a lagging strategy for us. At least that's what we think right now. But anything to add?
So where you want to be in terms of this question is you want to do, to Vach's point, zero customization and just sell out of the box. When you're early on, a lot of times, like the customer will ask you, like, "This is so dumb. Why does it do that?" And you're like, "You're totally right. Like, it totally shouldn't do that. So we're gonna change that for you." And if it stacks high enough on the priority scale, then you should absolutely customize it. But it's not really customization. You're just like filling in gaps. So you wanna use that customer feedback cycle to actually inform where you need to kind of fill in the gaps. And depending on the strategy, and generally speaking, the approach is you land wherever you can land and you go up market. That's generally within enterprise software the playbook. In our case, we live in an industry where most of the companies are down market, where they're all in the smaller ones. But we still want one up market for us, just because when you're dealing with one customer that gives you a big check, what did you find? When you're dealing with one customer who's giving you a bigger dollar amount, there's just more ROI in solving their problem. So you end up bending more for them than otherwise. But generally speaking, like, the goal should be a product company, right? That you have a product that you sell. You don't want to, if you're in tech, you don't want to be a service company. You don't want to be a company that like does stuff and changes stuff. Because what ends up happening is you make a little tweak here and you're like, oh, just a little thing. 6 years later, that little thing has caused a fractioning of the space, and Darren's dealing with this now. He has to pay for the previous sins that we did. Yeah, we said yes way too much. But it's a problem, and you need to factor that cost in, because every customization is going to be much bigger than what you anticipated being, and it's mostly a cost and complexity. So at the end of the day, you want to say no to everything, and the ideal is to have one kind of product that fits everyone. But in reality, you always end up having to bend as you go up further and further up. So it's a game of balance.
Last question. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Patrick. Darren, I really like your analogy of the rocket ship taking off and trying to hang on for dear life. And I think this is referring to your SaaS service model. At the bottom, you had Azure and AWS. And outside of cost, which is a pretty big deal, how do you kind of pick which provider you go with when you're trying to expand and scale? And how do you pick those services? Because they're both really competitive and they're very compelling.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at this answer because I wasn't here when the original decisions were made. Vahe can jump in, he may have more context. But ultimately it's about reliability of service, right? And so early on, Azure wasn't super reliable. Like, there were some problems, but then AWS has had its outages as well. So you're really kind of hedging your bets. We actually use both. We have redundancy in AWS because we want to make sure that our uptime is there, right? We need to have our service available for our customers when they want it. Not, dependent on what infrastructure choices we make. So right now we're kind of hedging our bets there. I don't know about the early decisions in terms of like what was more compelling. We are a C#.NET shop, so there's a lot of Microsoft influence in the house. Our CTO is like steeped in that environment, so Azure is definitely something that he has a strong affinity for, but Amazon's like the 800-pound gorilla. You can't really get away from them anywhere you go, right? And they provide a lot of great features and services. So we're capitalizing on some of those as well. There's a lot of cool stuff that they do in the cloud that we can leverage. And so we just look at what's out there and kind of evaluate what technologies are complementary to what we want to provide. And then, we just have to make sure the service is reliable and resilient and has a lot of uptime. So I don't know if you want to speak to any of that.
I would say, so there's a couple of key things. One is these guys give away credits like it's running out of style. So figure out how to get as much credits as you possibly can, because it's straight up dollars. And they usually give them through like incubators and accelerators, and so you'll get like a few $100,000 of credit. The catch is you got to use it in 1 year, and when you're just starting out, like, it's not possible. But you can probably like get a few and whatever. So I'll definitely look into that, because like we did that and it was great. The main question is, do you want to use their past components and get locked in, or do you want to keep it agnostic to the platform and be able to jump around? That's really the key question, because depending on the answer to that, you either focus on kind of maintaining the ability to just jump ship and then play them against each other and yada yada. That has a cost, because a lot of their past components are awesome and you save a bunch of time. So it's that trade-off. So I think the key is just to figure out which one is more important. The being agnostic to the vendor and being able to jump around, or picking one and then going super deep and leveraging all of the benefits that they get. And depending on which one it is, then it's just a fairly straightforward, like, comparison between what each one offers and which one maps into your stack better.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to our team. Oh, my team, whatever. Thanks for being here. So that wraps up our sort of structured part of the evening, but we have still a ton of food, so please continue eating. And you can hang out and chat, network, talk to anyone who's still around. We have many team members in the back, all with name tags, so definitely feel free to get to know us a little bit better, but thanks for spending your evening with us so far. Thanks, guys.